All right, boys, here's the deal. You might have seen this in the end of the video when we went to Oregon. I haven't really shown much about it, but I bought an E46 M3. This car is super clean, but it needs work. And we found that out kind of driving it along the drive down from Oregon, that the rear end is shot on these cars. If you know anything about E46s, these subframes are junk, they crack, the bushings are terrible, and it has finally been time. After driving this thing daily since I got it, we put about, I think, 4,000 miles on it now, and it's time that we put on some jack stands and get to work on this thing. So we just gotta get to the backyard first. But check this thing out. I don't think I've shown the interior on this thing yet. No, I haven't shown it at all. It's clean. Got it from Brandon, Scooter Swap Shop. Fresh interior, fresh reupholstered seats, manual 6-speed. I've wanted one of these cars forever and ever since I first got a BMW, and here we are. Now it's time to make this thing actually drivable. I love driving this thing, but it is junk right now in the rear. Every time you hit a bump, the car walks like this. I've took a look under the car. You can't really see much because how the subframe is. On the E46, how they just crack completely on the subframe mounts. But if it is, we got the stuff to fix it. So we'll show you guys here what we got in just a moment, but we gotta get this thing to the backyard and get this thing on some jack stands, so. Oh, I feel like this is gonna go easy. Wow, I can just daily this back here. That was easier than I thought. I thought we were gonna have to squeeze that thing in.
Yeah, plenty. Yeah, miles.
Flip the mirror back out, bro. We're dialed now. We could have. I didn't even need to flip them. All right, car successfully fit in the backyard perfectly. So now we have a good work spot. I mostly didn't want to put it in the garage because we're gonna be grinding, we're gonna be welding, we're gonna be power washing the bottom of it. And it's easier just to have it outside. So got it pulled back here, and here is everything we need for the rear end of this car. So we have full actual subframe bushings here. I think that's the remainder of the subframe bushings. This is the RTABS bushings for the rear trailing arms, and then this is the most important part right here. E46 rear subframe / chassis reinforcement kit TDR 4675412. This is what is mandatory for these cars, and I'm really, really hoping when we pull this subframe out, we're not gonna see the notorious cracks on this chassis. So this will prevent that. It's also gonna just completely stiffen up that rear, and we're gonna have a dialed rear end of this car. So we got rear camber arm set, and huge shout out to Turner Motorsports and ECS Tuning, because they hooked it up big time with sending a lot of this stuff out and got us set up right for this rear end. So big shout out to them for jumping on board with this project and getting us hooked up with all the goods. And we got more ECS right here. We got the differential bushings, so 1 for the front, 2 for the back. We also are going with a full reseal on our diff because the diff is leaking bad on this car. So we have the axle seals, and we have the front shaft seal right here for the diff itself. This diff is leaking bad. Every time we park this car, there is diff fluid leaking out the bottom of this. So along with the wonky driving, along with the diff leaking, this right here is gonna solve all the problems for the rear end of this car, and we're gonna get this thing completely dialed, and it's time to get to work. So we're gonna throw this thing on some jack stands, start stripping this thing down, and just pray we don't find too many cracks.
Dusty?
How many bolts are we looking at?
Like 26 and a half.
We gotta pull this big ass muffler off. That's a muffler and a half, dude.
This is my favorite part.
That is a muffler and a half, and that is some rusty, crusty, dusty.
Do you have your tetanus? I do, I'm good.
Years ago. How often do you have to do that? So here is our leaky diff. As you can see, that front seal is just leaking on everything.
I just got this bullshit.
I really don't like smoke.
Yeah, we'll just get a feel for it before it goes out.
That one was fucking amazing.
This one?
Yeah, that seems like gutters and shit.
Oh my god.
Money, that shit's not bad.
I need a car lift so bad. Car lift, this would take 45 minutes to get this whole entire diff out.
You got this? It's kind of oily and shit on the bottom.
Got it. Concerning amount of oil coming out the diff.
It does look.
but it's still leaking. So that means there's still oil in there.
It looks like one.
We have now unbolted the exhaust from muffler in the back here and the very front, and we're gonna try to drop it down in one piece just from the headers back. So let's go. That sounds crunchy.
No, it's very tip, just like on some chalkboard shit.
Okay, my side's free.
You're free?
Lost my life, almost lost my life, John.
Are your fingers
I'm
good?
so glad that wheel was there.
Yeah, your fingers good?
Oh, fingers are great.
Okay.
Fingers are great. Almost just lost my face though.
I watched it at the wheel.
That poor wheel. Okay. Now we lower your side of the shindig.
It might go down heavy on the driver's
Oh
side.
my God, John.
What?
It's not even on the jack right now.
I'm like 6 inches.
Dude, you literally have like a millimeter on the jack.
All right, your hand is all I need. Ready? Touchdown in 3 milliseconds.
Dude, that exhaust is gnarly.
That's a big beefy.
That's a big boy.
It does look insane all connected. Like, yeah, you're gonna love
You
these
said
ones.
how many bolts? 20? I think we did 20 for the exhaust.
Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3.
There's two ways to remove this parking brake from what we just looked up, and basically you can run it from inside the car. You gotta obviously remove some stuff and run the cables all the way out this way. I prefer not to have the parking brakes in the subframe when we remove them, because I'd rather just leave them in the car. One thing less on the thing that we're removing. So we're gonna go this route and remove the rotors, undo the parking brakes, slide the cables out, leave them to the chassis. Whoa, those have tension. Ah, I see. Okay. See, we're learning all the things right now. Wow, what is that? Dude, what in the world is that? That's the cable mechanism. Wow. Wow, I should have paid attention to how that went. Wow, wait till you see that one, John. All right, we got where we can tonight. Basically everything unhooked, camber arm unhooked, shock unhooked, and we basically are stuck with the e-brake cable being a pain in the ass and seized in here, and then on the other side the camber arm bolt is seized in there. So we are going to come back to it with some daylight tomorrow and get her done.
It was like 3.5 hours.
Shine your light on your face.
No, is it dirty?
Dude, you have so much grease on your face. All right, we came at it full swing today and got the main things that were giving us issues removed. So it was the e-brake line that was running into the back of the trailing arm here, and it kind of pops out through here, and that was the pain. So we got that ran back. We got everything removed, and this subframe is just dancing. It's ready to come out. So
Slowly but surely.
ready just to get it on the ground. I don't want it to drop.
How about the caliper?
Hold on. Ready?
Yep. Tripod.
Okay. Whole rear end out of the car now, and as you can see, it is crusty. And boys, was I correct on what we were feeling in the car? The trailing arm bushings are toasted. This was making the car so wonky, it would literally dance in the rear. If you went over road dots, one end of the car would like sway for a second, and like, that's the gnarliest I've ever seen. These bushings are pretty shot too. The actual subframe bushings themselves don't look too bad. We're doing everything while we're in here, and we have these bushings now on the way for inner and outers on here. So everything is going to be brand new. We need to hit it with some purple power action, get all this stuff degreased, power wash it, and then we're gonna melt these bushings out and get straight to it. All right, boys, I have went ahead and completely disassembled the entire subframe now and got everything down to bare minimum so we can actually start the process of rebuilding this. Shout out John for been helping me the last 2 days wrenching away at this. I just worked on removing every little bit from the subframe that we removed earlier, and we got everything separate now. So we got our rear subframe here, obviously rear subframe bushings, everything on the subframe looks okay. I went through and kind of checked everything for cracks around here. We got our diff, and we power washed everything out of there. All our trailing arms, our axles, spring buckets, all that. As for the M3, if you know about these cars, you would know that E46s are super notorious for having cracked subframe mounts, and this is why we have the reinforcement kit. These cracked subframe mounts are almost, it's like It's like 99% of the time nowadays with these cars being 20, 25 years old now, around that era almost, that you're gonna have this problem. It was looking all good until we saw these, boys. You see that right there? Look at that fun right there. Big crack running up there. As you can see that. None on this driver's side one, thankfully. And then we got the fun stuff on that side. This side also has the one right here on the body. It's kind of hard to see. Kind of see it running up there, right along here, going up. And then this side is bad, boys. You see that one? Oh my God, that side is bad. Obviously, I went into this knowing that this rear subframe was probably cracked. This car had way too much play and it was just prying on everything, especially with those RTABS being shot. And like I said, it's literally almost every E46. You're not gonna be able to see it with the subframe in. But when you pull that subframe, 99.9% of the time, your E46 is gonna have some cracks like that. So it's very important that we do the reinforcement kit before we throw in all these solid mount bushings and everything like that. I was prepared for this, but I was really hoping that we might just be that 0.1% that didn't have that problem. But we do. So luckily I have all the parts to fix that. I went and bought this torch that hooks up to a propane tank because last time I spent way too long with a hand torch sitting there burning bushings out. So I really want to just toast the bushings and see if we can just get them out like that. Okay, that one fell out. We just cook this bushing with it. All right, boys, it is time. As you can tell, I've been kind of wrenching away at this. It's hard to film every little detail because we're doing so much right now. But what I did was, we had the diff out already. I popped the bushings out and the outer rim stayed. So I'm gonna take my Dremel and get those outer rings out. Side quest mission I decided to do today to keep it quiet, since it's like midnight right now, is to replace this front main seal. This front seal that's on the diff. This was the leakiest point of the car. The driveway is covered in oil. This thing seeped like crazy. Before I destroyed the seal, taking it out, you were able to see more, but you could see where it was leaking down at the bottom here. It was just terrible. It was concerning how much it would leak. There was not much fluid that came out of this gearbox, but luckily there is like no metal in the fluid, so that is a good sign. This is our diff cover seal, the big side on the back. We got axle seals with snap rings, and then we have also a magnetic drain plug here. And also our brand new front seal, like I said, most importantly. So that's what we're gonna be working on right now. We're gonna seal the front, and then I've never done these ones on the side before, but there's a snap ring in here. It's kind of hard for you to see that snap ring around there. It comes with a new one of those as well. Then we'll flip it over and then get this back plate off, get the little bushing out of there and reseal that back piece. Just because I don't think it's really leaking out of there, but just because we're in here, I'd rather do it now. We are finishing up the diff right now. So I put our front seal in and put all that back on, kind of cleaned it up in here, and I got some UV joint grease I'm gonna pack in there with the new gasket. This side we already popped the seal in. As you can see, we kind of got the cover in here, but new seal is in there, new snap ring is in there. Now we're working on this side. Basically what I do is, for these seals, it's easiest for me just to put 2 screws in there, screw it right into the seal because the seal has a metal piece. Obviously the inner part is metal on it. Kind of come in here with the hammer and just kind of just usually get it right out, just like so. Boom, that's it. Easy as that. Clean that up in there, get that snap ring out, and put a new snap ring in. That ring right there. Here is where we stand right now on the M3. Everything now is basically ready to get all the bushings pressed in. I'm going to be repainting a lot of pieces like I talked about. I'm waiting for some Steal It paint to come in the mail because that's the paint I prefer to use on stuff like this, and I will show you guys why here in the next video. It's the same paint we used on the entire pan right here of the Bug, which actually comes out perfect, and it's weldable, so it's gonna be perfect for us. Sand down the bottom of the chassis, weld those cracks, paint them under where the support is going to go, weld it in, just because you don't want raw metal up in there and have a little bit of space where maybe moisture can get and it can rot out the chassis even more right there. So weld those cracks, paint them, put the plates in there, weld those in, and steel it is weldable, so it's the perfect paint to use in this situation. But given this video is already getting a bit long and we haven't even started the reprocess of the rebuild, I figured this would be a good way to do a part 1 and a part 2. So this one kind of assessing the damage, seeing the typical problems here in the E46 and how we're going to fix it, and then we'll work on reinstalling everything in the next video, which is going to be a lot of pushing and bushings and resetting everything up like that. There is still a lot to do on this car, and I'm excited to start the build now because there's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing once we get this car proper, I guess you could say, because right now we discovered a lot of little issues in this car. So basically this car is totaled. The frame is cracked. That's a big thing for this that's a huge thing for these BMWs, but we're gonna fix that, boys. We'll give you guys one more look at the cracks. Here's one of the more of the bigger ones, I guess you could say. It starts here and goes up to here. Somehow, luckily, none on this front left side over here. Now this is where it kind of gets rough. As you can see, this crack starts here, it goes all the way around. Don't forget, it's also cracked right here around the mounting point. So that one's a fun one. On this side, we have the same thing as the other side. This crack running up right here. Little hairline crack. It's not the worst I've seen for these E46s. I've actually seen online a lot worse of where these things crack at. This one is a little bit more on the lower mileage side for being a 20-year-old car. We just hit like 130,000 miles on this car. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, we have all the parts to fix it. And again, huge shout out to ECS Tuning and Turner Motorsport because they got us completely hooked up. We got even more of the bushings that showed up now. So literally every single bushing on even the knuckles of the trailing arms to the actual camber arms and the spring buckets to the subframes to the trailing arm themselves to new tie rod end bushings to diff bushings to reinforcements. This car is gonna feel like a brand new car in the next video, and I'm so stoked to get this thing back on the road. I miss driving this thing so much. So that's gonna do it for this one. Hope you guys are stoked on a little bit of car content. Can't wait to get this thing going. That's gonna do it for this one, boys. I will see you guys in the next video.